This is the Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Everybody, and welcome to this week's first Royal Blue show of the week. I'm your host, Conor O'Neill, joined this afternoon by Chris Beesley. Chris, you well?
I'm okay, yeah. It's just a bit perturbing. We normally, the viewers can't see this, but we don't have a little screen to watch here, and it's turned off at the moment. So we're just we're presuming everything's going well there. We've got Ian looking after things for us, but yeah, incredible result, wasn't it? I mean, I think we were all expecting a real tough test against Sean Dyche's Nottingham Forest with him coming back to Everton, but ended up being emphatic in the end.
Yeah, I am the chair, as someone referred to Ian recently during a conversation I had with them, stepping into the chair's shoes this week to host. But you touched on it there, obviously, on Saturday. Everton made it back-to-back Premier League wins with a resounding 3-0 victory over Nottingham Forest at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Sean Dyche's Nottingham Forest, of course, the former Everton manager, returning to face his old club. An own goal set the Blues on the way inside the opening 2 minutes before Tierno Barry got his first goal for the club just before the interval, and the outstanding Kieran Dewsbury Hall wrapped things up 10 minutes from time.
Yeah.
But you touched on it there. I think we were all expecting a tough game, I think it's safe to say, and a lot of Everton fans, as we all like to do, feared the worst of Sean Dyche coming back to haunt his old club, but in the end it was pretty routine. Yeah,
that was a genuine concern, wasn't it? You know, it was, let's not forget, just a fortnight previous, gone, I was going to say across the park. We don't say that anymore, do we? But they've gone to
for the ages there.
Yeah, gone to Anfield and they won emphatically by that same 3-0 scoreline. So for Everton to beat them 3-0, yeah, I wasn't necessarily fearing a 3-0 defeat, but we know Sean Dyche was going to be up for it. This Nottingham Forest team, who qualified for Europe last season, probably on course for Champions League until Everton done them, and Abdoulaye Doucouré's late goal. So obviously it's been much changes there. Dyche was the third manager before the clocks went back. It's been a bitty sort of traumatic time for them, but they've picked up under him, as you'd expect under Sean Dyche outfit, difficult to play against, and we were all expecting really Everton to have to dig in to get something from this. But to be fair from Everton, see, it looks like hopefully the Newcastle United game was a blip in terms of, I think it obviously took a lot out of them physically and mentally at 10 men after 77 minutes at Old Trafford. So they've responded with a 1-0 win at Bournemouth, first ever win there. It was a really good away performance, and then followed that up with this emphatic home display, and they were on it from the very start, and that was sort of, I think, helped both on and off the pitch with the fans getting behind the team and the team looking confident.
Obviously, goals at any time are good, especially for Everton, where they've found goals difficult to come by this season. But they got off to the perfect start with a goal inside 82 seconds, obviously an own goal. But I think the big goal of the game was the one that arrived just before half-time, because I think it's safe to say, as we were sat in the press box on Saturday, we were all kind of thinking Everton needs a half-time here. Forrester got back into it, and Pickford made a really good save from Elliot Anderson, and you're thinking, Everton just need to get in here 1-0 up and regroup and go again. And obviously Illuminati pounces in his own half, races clear and puts it on a plate to Tierno Barry, who simply couldn't miss. Now I know I say that easy to say now because he scored, but the goal, the celebrations, the smile on that man's face summed it up, didn't it?
Yeah, you say couldn't miss. I mean, I don't know what Sean Dyche was moaning about, and that was one of his. We can maybe come on to that.
We are coming on to that. Don't worry.
Okay, saying Chris Kavanagh. I mean, I didn't see that myself, but it was unselfish by Illuminati, but he probably just left him a little bit short. With the pass, just a touch under hit. That, I mean, probably say Alcaraz was the safer option, but for somebody who hadn't scored, Tierno Barry, he took it very coolly, and as you say, the relief. The adulation all around the stadium for because they could see how hard he'd been trying, and it's not like he'd come over there and thought, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other, and sort of strutted about. He'd really been putting a shift in for several months and hadn't been coming off for him. So the outpouring of relief from that moment. Although David Moyes was straight back on it, saying, you go another 6 or 7 games without scoring, you won't be in the side. And Beto's looking good in training, so maybe he's gone from the arm around the shoulder to bit of tough love now for Tierno Barry. But yeah, it was a magic moment for him, and let's all of us hope that it's the start of something. Now everyone keeps saying, he just needs a goal. Let's hope that's the case now. Let's hope, I'm not going to say he's become prolific, but he starts to get a few more now.
Well, Joe Thomas wrote in his match verdict on Saturday night that Everton's search, David Moyes' search for number 9 could be over, and I wrote yesterday in terms of Barry's made being able to keep the fans on side, who has hard work and determination. If he starts showing composure like that and the finish like that, he'll become a fan favourite, and that's the task now, isn't it? It's on him to use this as a springboard and score. I say maybe not become prolific, but when opportunities do come the way, show a little bit more composure than perhaps he has done so far this season.
Yeah, we know he can score goals in a top European league. He did that in Spain last season, albeit under very different circumstances, playing as one of the few teams that play with two up top at Villarreal. So, yeah, he's found it difficult in terms of the transition to the Premier League. See a player quality. He was playing for France in the under-21 Euros over the summer. So they knew he was raw coming in, but they thought they could get a tune out of him. And yeah, it has been a slow process, but we've seen the building of the last few weeks. Those performances have been building to that. I mean, even going to Newcastle, the previous home game, was very unfortunate with the unintentional handball, with his goal ruled out for VAR. But yeah, it's be an interesting one going forward, see how he can take that on now. Hopefully it will be a weight off his shoulders, and you could see the congratulations not just from the teammates, the way the fans with him, even that Hill Dickinson Stadium security guard, as it were, the stadium staff, the photograph of him there going down the tunnel. Everybody had a few words of encouragement for Tierno Barry, and he seems to be a player like quite a few at Everton with the emotions, and he feeds off that. So hopefully he'll be feeling a lot brighter this week, and hoping to take that on going forward. Now,
another man who I thought was outstanding from start to finish, played a part in the opening goal, scored his side's third goal. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, you wrote about him post-match. Obviously, there was a lot of talk after Garner Gay's red card against Manchester United about what things can happen, who's going to play where, etc. Have Everton stumbled across a few events a really, really good number 8?
Wow.
Because since he's gone there, okay, Newcastle apart, I think he's been pretty outstanding. I thought he was brilliant against Bournemouth last week, brilliant at Old Trafford, and he's brilliant again on Saturday. And obviously you spoke to him after Bournemouth, and spoke to him again after Saturday. But after Bournemouth, I think it was quite telling, wasn't it, and what he told you and about his position. And it almost feels a little bit like perhaps through circumstances rather than design, that Everton, he's much more beneficial playing a little bit deeper than the number 10.
Yeah, as that Idrissa Gueye slap, actually, rather than sort of giving a shock to the system for Michael Keane, is it giving David Moyes something to seriously think about? As you say, he said after the game at the Vitality Stadium, he was excellent again, probing from deep, that he does see himself, that's his natural position, a box-to-box number 8, as he says, and so much so. I did the talking point yesterday evening. I mean, you were in that room at Waterstones with us, as was Ian, as part of that audience, and we put it open for the Q&A, and straight off the bat, first one in, I don't know if you remember, the fella asked me, why did Harry Catterick sell Alan Ball? I mean, this is transfer 54 years ago, and Evertonians still talking about that. So my talking point, if you look on that, the Echo website today, is talking about reason Evertonians are still talking about this over a half century later is because he's never really replaced Alan Ball, a prolific goal scorer from midfield. If you look at his numbers for the first 4 years at Everton, I've seen the sort of figures that David Moyes would be crying out for from a striker these days. And they've had brilliant midfielders like the Peter Reid, Paul Bracewell combination in 85, but they only got 4 goals each. See, Reid was player of the year, but different sort of players. And then before that, after that, you've had people like Martin Dobson, Gary Speed, who got into double figures, and then later on Tim Cahill, Marouane Fellaini. But they were like Dewsbury Hall was before, playing off the striker, playing in that more advanced role. So could Everton actually have an entire new dimension here in midfield, rather than having the two defensive-minded sitters in Idrissa Gueye and James Garner? Could you have somebody who could genuinely get forward, give you that sort of grittiness in the engine room, but push forward, be a goal threat, and it could... it's not getting carried away. It could totally change the way Everton operate as a team, because it gives you that extra dimension. So have somebody having that sort of power, both creating and taking chances from a genuine central midfield position, could be massive for them. Because I think we all did fear. We started off as a 10 thinking, would that leave Everton too light in the middle if he did go back? And we were all sort of a bit wary to try it, but as Dave Moyes has had to do it because he's down to the bare bones in the middle, and he's flourished.
Now, the opposite end of the scale from Joy was a furious Sean Dyche. You obviously were in his press conference after the game.
I spoke to him, yeah.
Was it nice to catch up with the former Everton boss?
He
First and foremost?
He was very cordial, yeah. He gave a little nod to me and Joe on the front row, but I don't know.
Perhaps he's still scarred from that Bournemouth press conference last year.
Yeah, that was Joe, wasn't it? People have mentioned how he had a bit of a joke, didn't he, about the bottles and the microphone not working. But obviously you got I don't think it's rightly so, the warm welcome before kick-off when he walked in there in the West Stand, and the fans who were there when they come off the bus. There was a round of applause, and he seemed genuinely taken aback. Thumbs up and a smile from him at that moment. And to be fair, he said he'd spoken to people like James Tarkowski, Michael Ball, going and see Moisey as
Michael
well,
Keane.
as he said. Yeah. So he might getting carried away there, Michael Ball.
I mean, I spoke to Michael Ball for all we know, but
about what he'd said in all them columns over the years. No, sorry. Yeah. But now he did have a few gripes, didn't he? Not towards us, but towards the match
touched on it there in terms of the warm welcome he received. I don't think Chris Kavanagh's going to be getting a warm welcome to the City ground the next time he visits, because the Echo understands that Forest have actually made a complaint to the PGMOL over the incident involving James Tarkowski in the 11th minute. Dyche afterwards pretty much said Tarkowski should have been given his marching orders. Wasn't helped, I think it's safe to say, by the fact that Tarkowski gets booked in the second half for a professional foul inside the Forest half as Forest looked to break. But he was not a happy man, Bees, was he, when he was talking about the incident? No,
he said it. I've told Big Talk, he says his words. And I admire him as a bloke, but I'm going to tell you all this, and he did. It was unnecessary from James Tarkowski.
I was going to say, firstly, what do you think on the challenge? Because
it was an odd one.
Where obviously we sit next to each other in the press box at Hill Dickinson Stadium, or press row as it now is, and I didn't actually see it at first, but when you see the replay, obviously we're quite fortunate we have monitors to look at the replay. I did think it was a little bit stupid, and he could have faced some consequences, I think it's safe to say. Yeah, it was weird. I think he kind of got away with it because he sort of used his body, his torso, as like to buffer the opponent, as opposed to, if you raise his arms, well, he would have gone. But yeah, because it was so unorthodox. Obviously, he had the incident with Kenny Tete, didn't he, a few weeks ago, and what was it? The nipple cripple when he was on the receiving end of that, and he had to go back. But this one, we said we like Sean Dyche. We love James Tarkowski as a bloke. I've said this on the podcast before. As a man, as a person, as a human being, absolutely top class. He comes out, whether it's good or bad, he'll front up. He was the one after 6-0 at Chelsea, talking to me in the tunnel. He'll do all that, and I have the utmost respect for him. And I also like the way he plays the game generally, in terms of putting his body on the line for the cause. And he's a real warrior on the pitch, and I like that. But and also, he's always going to have a place in Evertonians' hearts for that moment in the last Goodison derby. So very special player for James Tarkowski. We like him a lot, but what he does, and he continues to do this. I think people have said this before in this podcast. I think, was it Gav or Joe's mentioned it as well. It's almost like every game he goes out think, I'll show everyone I'm the hardest man on the pitch. And he probably is, but he doesn't need. It's not wrestling. It's not boxing. It's football. You don't need to do that. He could show that through the way he puts his body on the line, making clearances, or which he
winning
did in the second half.
Yeah.
He made a great off the line.
Oh yeah, he made a really good challenge as well. Well-timed challenge.
Probably bailed his goalkeeper out there.
Yeah. There was a couple of occasions. Yeah, there was a challenge as well. So yeah, that's what we like to see from James. Because don't get involved in stuff like that, because it's not like you're playing on the parks. It's not the Zingari League or whatever they call it these days. He's not with our friend Tony. He's not with our friend Tony Scott and the Bramley Moor Vets, is he? There's all these cameras everywhere, and they're going to get caught. It's going to get picked up. I mean, you can't get away with stuff like that.
What I found quite interesting with it is, I thought you probably an argument to say that Tarkowski got more power in what he done off his torso than what Decore did at that time when he famously slapped Harry Kane, which
Well, that was another one Sean Dyche had words about.
But there was probably more power in what Tarkowski done on Saturday than what Decore done, and one sees red and one goes unpunished.
Yeah.
Is there an issue though with Tarkowski? Bees, you touched on it there in terms of the kind of the hard man act a little bit. Is he got to rein it in a little bit? Because is he going to get caught out one day? Because it's not the first time it's happened, is it? And I think people are a little bit like like you say there's cameras, VAR, and also after this, is the PGMO going to now take a bit more of an interest, let's just say, in what he gets up to, because it's been highlighted and a complaint's been made, and maybe on another day, two more official VAR might have intervened and said that's a red card offence.
Yeah, going back to Michael Ball, not Michael Keane. I am saying the right one this time. He said already in terms of his column, says, the referees will be out to look at James Tarkowski. They'll be keeping an eye out. So this one missed it. But yeah, next week, he could put you in a really bad position because it's totally unnecessary. It's not like he's seeing red. I don't think he does. He doesn't seem to lose his head or whatever. And it's not like, with Idrissa Gueye slapping Michael Keane, he just lost in the moment. He seems to do it anyway, just almost like, I'll show you. But yeah, you can't be doing that. He's the club captain and leads with great authority and great example, but he just needs to cut this out because he's not a young lad. Was he 32 years of age now? Senior pro, veteran, seasoned campaigner in the Premier League. I'm not sure why it's happening, and it'd be interesting to know if actually what David Moyes has actually said anything behind the scenes about this, because it does keep cropping up, and it could put Everton totally unnecessary. It's not like it's a last ditch tackle and he has to make it. Or I said he's lost his rag because players are going hammer and tongs, whatever. It's just almost like I'll just do this, and it could put Everton in trouble in the future. So hopefully he can sort of snap out of it, because it doesn't seem to be a temper thing. It just seems to be something that he does.
Now I'm going to say something to you now, Bees, that a few Everton fans have muttered over the years is a bit of a joke. But if you look at the league table, you could easily see, are you dusting off your passport in preparation for next season? Because was it 4 wins in 5? The Blues are very much, as things stand, in the European mix. Admittedly, the caveat, of course, is that the Premier League table is incredibly tight at the minute, and I think Manchester United, for instance, if they beat Wolves tonight by a certain scoreline, could go 6 places. I think they go up as much as tonight. But do Everton have a chance of securing European football this season?
They have a chance. I would say it's probably more unlikely than likely, and that's not me being defeatist. Before the ball
sounds a bit like David Moyes.
Before the ball was kicked, I predicted 10th, and that probably wouldn't get you, would it? That'd be just a little bit short, wouldn't it? But they're in the mix, as you say. The Premier League table is that wild, it's that unpredictable this season. Let's enjoy these moments where they are. It'd be amazing, wouldn't it, if Everton were to finish 6th? That would be a huge overachievement, and it's just the nature of the table at the moment. And just as we're enjoying these moments, if you have a couple of bad results and you slip down again, it's not the end of the world. It was interesting. Joe and I had that long trip down to Bournemouth and back again. And before that game, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, sort of quoting Joe when he's not here. And he was saying, if Everton could just have a season here where they're not concerned with relegation, where Barry comes on and sort of finds his feet in the Premier League, where other young players like Tyler Diblin, who's not really had much of a chance yet, where he can integrate himself with the other ones, even Adam Asnu, Merlin Rowe, we're not seeing much of them yet. If the likes of these can sort of get themselves established and Everton aren't looking over the shoulders, but maybe they were to finish in the bottom half, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would be progress. It's not me being defeatist now, or Joe when he was saying this to me. It's a tough league, and as we know, is so close. That could happen, and it would still be progress if they could get Europe or even any sort of top half finish. That would be really good. That'd be really good. I mean, it's just, I think I saw a start after the weekend, the year-on-year points differences, and Everton had the biggest increase from this time last year. I think they're 12 points better off than they were this time last year. So that shows you everything you need to know. If that was to end with Europe, and I was fortunate enough to have a sit down with David Moyes in Chicago pre-season, and he said ultimately, not this year necessarily, but in coming back to Everton, that was his big ambition, get them back into Europe. That's what he wanted to do with Everton. So if he was to do that this season, that'd be incredible. Yeah, it's a chance because the table is so close. I mean, I imagine over the course of the entire season, it'll probably stretch out a bit and it won't be as congested. But they've put themselves in the mix, haven't they? It's a possibility.
Squad depth's a big thing, though, isn't it? In all this, and you think of, without being too defeatist, Everton are going to probably lose 2 of their most important, influential players after this weekend's game at Chelsea. Obviously, Ilman and Dyer, Garner, hence the African Cup of Nations. you would suspect, given Senegal's squad, that they will at least get to the semi-final stage, which means that it's probably going to be the six weeks until they return.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big test, I think. And if Everton gets around mid-January above par and pick up points over Christmas, then who's to say they can't, dare to dream? But David Moyes has not even been back 12 months. So many obviously returns to the football club in January last year. There's been a lot of talk about Moyes, and certainly there's a lot of talk about David Moyes before the Fulham game, and obviously we discussed it at length. But is the fact that he's got Everton fans daring to dream of Europe in such a short space of time, given where the club was, where the club's been, the constant relegation battles, is a testament of just how good a job he's done, and he's probably not getting the credit that he deserves?
I think so, and I've said so on here before. Now, I mean, it's incredible that they're even in the mix, and here we are talking about a team whose two strikers between them, the two main strikers, got one goal each in the Premier League, and we're even having a conversation about this in December.
And one of them, admittedly, hadn't got a shot on target until the weekend was gone.
Yeah. So for that even to be to be a discussion point, it's incredible. What I will say, one of the most pleasing aspects of Saturday's game for me was the fact that I know Iliman Ndiaye got the assist. I thought both him and Jack Grealish, for their own stellar standards, both quite a bit off par. No, Grealish played a nice ball into James Garner, weighted pass, and he sort of timed that just right. But he was quiet compared to what he has been. Iliman Ndiaye, always an option, always a threat, but was quiet compared to what he's been. But Everton found a way to win, and to win emphatically without those two being an absolute top form. And that's encouraging because obviously, along with Idrissa Gueye, Iliman Ndiaye is the other one, obviously, who's going away for a prolonged period. So yeah, the squad depth will probably be the big issue, won't it? Because as much as they got those 9 new faces in the summer, they're still a bit light at certain times in certain areas and in terms of proven Premier League quality. So it's incredible, like I say, that we're actually even just having a conversation about this. And I mean, it could all change over the busy festive period, and that's why I said just don't be losing your heads, because it is moving in the right direction. And I was at pains. I got quite animated a couple of weeks ago when everyone was it after the Newcastle game or whatever. People again just calling for the manager's head. I mean, you can criticise him. Nobody manages above criticism, and you can say, "Oh, he got it wrong," or "This is what he needs to do better." But people saying that, I mean, I hope those people haven't looked at themselves this morning. Yeah, I don't think any of us think that Everton are going to finish 6th. It's not a false position because it's where they are right now, but yeah, that would be absolutely incredible. But I think things are moving in the right direction after so long and so many struggles on and off the pitch. For me, I think it was so fortunate that he was able to come back when he did. I mean, as a general rule, I say don't go back in football, but I was happy to embrace this one when it came, and I think it's shown that now that the progress that they're making. I think Everton were very fortunate that at the halfway point of their last season at Goodison Park, with Dyche having them on 17 points from 19 games, that a manager of David Moyes' calibre was available. I think if he didn't have any sort of prior connection to Everton, I think no way Everton would have got a manager of that level at that point in time.
And obviously, just one last one to finish.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had Fulham a couple of weeks ago, 2-0. That was pretty routine. Forest on Saturday, 3-0. Pretty routine. Obviously, they had a few moments in the first half. How nice it's to be watching Everton play home matches where it is quite routine, and you can get you're quite relaxed, because that's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Because you think of Goodison Park in recent years, Everton tended to win when they really had to win, but there's been some really bad performances, bad results, on home soil. Not, the away form's been terrible, but the home form hasn't exactly been great either. Whereas now we've had 2 games this season where it's been quite relaxed, and you go into the last 10 minutes and you're thinking, it's job done here, and it's refreshing, isn't it? It's a way to describe it.
Luxury, isn't it? Yeah, because as much as we talk about, the grand old lady and that historic final season at Goodison last year, Everton had the joint fewest home wins in their entire history. I think it was level with 57-58 season. They got 5 home wins. So as much as Moyes really improved them in the second half of the season with those, was it the 5 away wins?
Yeah.
Still weren't great at Goodison. I mean, thankfully, Everton came up trumps on the final day against Southampton.
Well, you think that before that, though, the Ipswich game, 2-0 up, cruising, threw it away. you know, there was a couple of other...
Even Tottenham at the end was...
Manchester United, the one when they were 2-0 up, cruising, you know, threw it away.
Referee, but yeah.
Obviously, you know, there was a few times, even under Moyes, where the home form wasn't perhaps what you would have expected, whereas this time round, obviously there was the Newcastle result. Villa was a little bit frustrating, but there's been promising signs at home. Yeah,
it's great, and the atmosphere. I thought the atmosphere was good again because the fans were enjoying Everton being on top and getting behind the team there. So he played in front of the biggest regular crowds in the club's history. This beautiful new stadium on the Mersey waterfront, and it is, you know, it's a huge moment in Everton's history. This bright new dawn. I mean, for most of its existence, Goodison Park was the preeminent club ground in the country. It wasn't for the final generation of its existence. And, you know, this is a brand new start now for Everton. So it's great to be here, enjoy it, to go down the games and sort of replicate that Goodison atmosphere, the best of Goodison, but in the modern setting. And like you say, even enjoy some of the games rather than being a chore, because that's what it's been for so long now.
Thank you, Chris. I think we will leave things there. We've chewed the fat enough on all things Everton versus Nottingham Forest. Ian, Gav Buckland and Tony Scott will be back on Wednesday for the Wednesday show as we look ahead to Saturday's Premier League clash at Chelsea, and a win at Stamford Bridge would certainly not go amiss given Everton's dismal record there in recent years. But for today, I've been joined by Chris Beesley, and you've been listening to the Royal Blue Podcast.
This is the Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.